Good morning. We're back on record. The time is 9 a.m. The date is April 3rd. The commission and its staff are again appearing from Phillipsburg, Montana in the Granite County Museum. This is day 2 of the scheduled public hearing and docket number 2024.12.119 involving L&L Site Service Incorporated's application for Class D certification of public convenience and necessity. To begin the day, I will first ask for public comment. We will begin with any commenters in the room and then move to commenters online. Any commenters in the room?
Sorry, Commissioner Budnicek, I did have a housekeeping issue I wanted to address, and we could do that after public comment if there is any.
Okay.
But I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, thank you. Any public commenters in the room? Not seeing none. Any public commenters online?
No.
Okay. So please note that it's being recorded. All right.
Commissioner Budnicek, we had Commissioner Wellborn, good morning. Ms. Webster, opposing counsel. We had some issues yesterday regarding admission of some of the exhibits, and I wanted to put my position on the record in terms of what I understand the difference between the administrative record of this case and the evidentiary record here at the hearing. Certainly, we have submitted our data responses to the commission as part of the administrative record in this case, and I have typically done that in administrative cases and specifically with the PSC. In terms of the decision that's made on a Class D application, Section 6912.323.1a says that this commission shall issue its finding, order, or decision on the application and the evidence presented in support of the application at the time of the hearing. And so I do believe that there is a difference between the administrative record of this case before the commission and what is actually presented as evidence at the hearing. And so the administrative record is what the judge could actually consider on judicial review as part of the case. The evidentiary record is what is presented at this hearing that the commission should rely on in making its decision on L&L's application. In terms of admitting that the other issue that and this is my position, and Mr. Forcella may have a different position on this. The administrative rules, the procedural rules for the commission do allow for admission of designation of part of a document as evidence. Now, but my exhibit 5, I can promise you that I would never designate 700 pages as one exhibit. A lot of this is prior PSC hearing transcripts and things like that that I don't necessarily think are relevant for purposes of the evidence that we're going to introduce on this application. It might be admissible, but it was disclosed to the public. The administrative rule 38.2.4205 subsection 3 allows for the way that I was introducing evidence yesterday was designating part of a document, even those emails that we had witnesses here to lay the foundation for, but Vicki Witt wasn't here, so we didn't admit her emails. And so it allows for designation of part of a document as long as we make a clear record about what actually is considered evidence and is being introduced into the record for the commission to consider in making its decision. So I just wanted to put my position in terms of the administrative record of the case versus the evidentiary record that we're presenting at the hearing.
Does Republic have any response?
I'm not sure that we would, I don't know that we have much of a response. I think there was a citation to a number of statutes and rules. I'm sure people speak for themselves. I also don't, just in wave top level, I don't think I disagree. But I also think that, you know, to the extent that there are legal arguments about these issues, that we can address them as they come up.
Thank you.
There will be a break at approximately 5 minutes to 11. We have a meeting we have to do. It'll be about half an hour. So just want to let you know ahead of time. Right. So we will resume the hearing, Ms. Garrett.
And I do believe Republic has a witness that they wanted to take out of order and call first today. So I was willing to allow them to do that.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Garrett, for the professional courtesy. We really appreciate it. Republic would like to call Ms. Jamie Adams as a Shepherd witness, please. You'd like to sit over there, Jamie?
Is that thing need turned on?
I can turn it.
That's okay.
Nobody wants that.
Wait, we're our own tech support.
And Ms. Adams wasn't present yesterday to be sworn.
Swear. Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Adams. Can you please state your name, please?
Jamie Adams?
Do you mind if I call you Jamie?
Not at all.
All right, Jamie. Thank you for being here. Jamie, where do you live?
In Maxville, Montana.
And my understanding, Maxville is just north of here, about 20 miles or so?
Yes, about 10,
About
but
10.
yes.
And what do you do for work, Jamie?
I work for Granite Custom Homes.
And the name implies what they do, but what does Granite Custom Homes do?
We build custom homes, residential and some commercial,
And do you know how long Granite Custom Homes has been in business?
about 20 years.
And where is Granite Custom Homes located?
The office is right around the corner, the brand new brick building, 126 West Broadway. That's where my office is. We have 3 job sites going here in Granite County, and we have about 7 going in Powell County, like Deer Lodge.
And you were pointing, which doesn't necessarily show up with what the court reporter says,
Sorry.
but, oh, that's totally okay. But just to be clear, your office is here in Phillipsburg?
Yes,
Okay. And so as part of Granite Custom Homes work in the construction industry, what sort of needs does Granite Custom Homes have for roll-off dumpsters?
quite a bit of use. We have a house that we're doing right now that's a demo. Even new builds, we've got every rollaways at every job site.
And is there a company that Granite Custom Homes uses for those roll-off services?
Yes, we have 2 of them, one in Powell or Deer Lodge, and one in here.
And who does Granite Custom Homes use here in Granite County?
Republic Services.
And who from Granite Custom Homes communicates directly with Republic about Granite's needs for roll-off services?
Myself, unless I'm out of the office and then Tony does the other office guy.
Okay. And when Granite Custom Homes needs roll-off dumpster services, how do you communicate that need to Republic?
I either do it on their website or I call the office. Normally I use the website, though. It's really easy to use.
And in your experience, how would you describe your experience in working with Republic?
Great. It's been one of the best companies I've ever worked for as far as communication goes. When they had the big fire in Missoula, we were scheduled to be picked up that day. She called me and said, "I'm sorry, but we have kind of an emergency right now. We need to take care of this." Absolutely. They scheduled me the next day. So we didn't even really lose time. It really was great to just have that communication and the willingness to work with each other.
And how would you describe Republic's responsiveness to Granite Custom Homes needs here in Granite County?
Fantastic.
And how would you, I guess, rate your overall experience? Would it be positive, negative, indifferent?
Positive.
Are there any other instances that stand out to you for the type of services that Republic has provided to Granite Custom Homes?
Can you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm just wondering, is there anything else that stands out to you regarding Republic services to Granite Custom Homes?
Like other services that we use.
Yeah, or just overall, if there's anything that stands out to you in terms of how you view their services.
Oh, they're awesome. Their communication, like I said, when I'm ready to, I do it as needed a pickup. I could do a scheduled one, but I don't need scheduled one because some jobs are slower than others, so they fill up smaller. I do it when I'm ready, when the company's ready. So I like that a lot.
And based on your experience, is it fair to say that the Republic meets Granite Custom Homes needs here in Granite County?
Oh, yes.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst service and 10 being the best service, how would you rate Republic's service?
10.
And in your experience, would you recommend Republic to other potential customers in Granite County?
Yes.
No further questions, Jamie. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Ms. Garrett may have some follow-up
Okay.
questions for you.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Hi.
I'm Ally, I represent L&L Site Services and Grizzly Disposal. They're based out of Belgrade and Missoula. You said you've been with Granite Custom Homes for 20 years?
No, I have not. The company has been
Okay,
open for 20 years.
okay.
I've only been there for roughly 2 years.
And what do you do there?
I'm an office manager.
Okay, perfect. Have you, in the last 2 years that you've been with Granite Custom Homes, have you noticed any increase in the business? Have the number of projects increased?
For us, yes.
Do you know whether Granite Custom Homes has any sort of written contract with Republic Services?
Yes, we do.
Okay, and so you have a written contract and then you make requests for on-demand service to your roll-offs at the job site?
Yes,
Okay, and you do that online?
yes.
Okay.
I do it online. Well, my subs do it online. Then I get the contract, I sign, I send back.
Okay, perfect. And then you mentioned that Granite Custom Homes has some projects in Deer Lodge County?
Yes,
Who do you use for disposal over there?
McReach Trucking.
Okay, perfect. What's the price comparison like? Is it similar, Republican and McGree, or is it?
They're close.
Have you, if you were unable to, if Granite Custom Homes was unable to get a dumpster delivered in Granite County to a job site, would that make it difficult for work to proceed on a project?
Oh, absolutely.
Do you have any opposition to an additional waste hauler coming in to offer services in Granite County?
It depends on the price. I mean, if they're coming from a greater distance, then we have to think about mileage, right? And gas, and so that kind of will maybe push up our prices a little bit. That's why I like Missoula is right there. We're a route, it's easy.
Okay, so if the other provider was based out of Missoula as well and offered a similar price, you wouldn't oppose?
I would compare.
Sure.
Because I'm a compare person, pros and cons, but I would definitely be willing to open that conversation up
Sure.
with the company, but it would be a group decision that we both agree on.
Sure. Okay, I have no further questions for the witness.
I have no questions for the witness.
No questions.
Okay,
Just a brief redirect.
Yes.
Possible, Madam Chair.
yes.
Jamie, just a couple questions. You had mentioned that Granite Custom Homes has had an increase in business, is my understanding.
Yes.
Has Republic been able to meet that increased business need?
Absolutely, yes.
And has Republic ever denied service to Granite Custom Homes?
No, and even some of our jobs are 25 miles up dirt roads in the middle of nowhere. And the guys have no questions, no problems. They just go.
Thank you so much for your time, Jamie. I have no further questions for you.
The witness is temporarily excused.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Just spell your name for me.
Jamie Adams.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Madam Chair, Ms. Adams is actually leaving out of town, so she will be unable to be called back, which I didn't expect anyways, but I think did you mention that she's temporarily excused? We could have, if she could be permanently excused, she's going to be heading to Billings this afternoon.
You're permanently excused.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Have a safe trip.
Thank you.
Ms. Garrett, your next witness.
We would call Lance Cheney. I think he's on Zoom. I'm sure technology.
Lance was sworn in yesterday.
Was this witness sworn in yesterday?
No.
No, okay. I do not see him online at the moment, but we'll give it,
I just told them to click the link, so.
okay.
Spell Cheney.
Is it CH? Let me ask him.
I would assume that.
I mean, I have an idea. I have a couple guesses.
I have a couple guesses. I'm looking for her.
Easier.
Okay, I do see Mr. Cheney.
You see? Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Cheney. Can you see and hear us?
I can. Sorry, it took me a minute there.
All right, please raise your right hand.
Okay.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Cheney. I was hoping that you could, can you spell your last name for the record?
Yes, it's Chaney.
Lance, my name is Allie Garib. I'm the attorney for L&L Site Services and Grizzly Disposal and Recycling out of Missoula and Belgrade. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions today. Can you tell me, first of all, can you tell me where you live?
Yeah. Currently, I live at 2399 Central Park Road in Belgrade, but I also have a home in right outside of Phillipsburg on East Fork Road.
And can you give me, I'm sorry, but can you give me the address of this home or
Yeah,
tell
yes.
me the general
Yeah,
vicinity?
it's 78 Sunny Meadow Lane.
Okay, perfect. And Lance, what do you do for work?
I'm a contractor as well as a farmer.
Do you have a business name that you operate under?
I have an LLC called Cows for Cabins LLC.
And so what kind of construction do you do?
Yeah, I do remodels and full builds. Right now I'm doing a remodel in Ennis. But I've got 2 scheduled builds in Granite County and a remodel for the next probably 18 months.
And are those, you do primarily, I assume those are residential
Yes.
projects?
Yes, they are. Yep. Everything's, I usually do residential, not commercial.
And do you, at those job sites, remodels in Granite County, do you have need for roll-off service?
Yes, I do. And I have had in the past as well.
And have you utilized Republic services in Granite County for that?
I have not. I first came to Granite County like 10 years ago, I think, when I first bought a place. And then I went to build a shop. Dates are kind of a little bit off maybe, but I built a shop over there about 6 years ago, and I did call to try to get a roll off, and it was almost impossible. It seemed like an impossible feat. I actually back then ended up buying a dump trailer so I could handle the services myself. I already had a crew scheduled to come, and we could not get it accomplished. So back then that was the problem I had. And then I called here.
Okay, sorry, Mr. Cheney. I want you to tell your story, but let me kind of guide you down that road, or we'll go step by step.
Okay.
And I'll lead the way, if you will. And no problem, but I appreciate you being willing to come and testify to that. Are you at work today?
I will be after we get done with this.
Okay. So recently, you indicated 6 years ago you had some issues trying to get roll-off service in Granite County.
Yes.
Have you had any occasion to contact Republic seeking roll-off service more recently than that?
Yes, I did. I want to say it's been about a month or month and a half ago at least.
Okay. And do you know what phone number you called to try to get in touch with Republic?
Oh boy. Sorry, I did not get prepared for anything like that. I called their Missoula branch, and
yeah, it was a local Montana number.
Yes, it was correct.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. And did you actually speak to a person?
Yeah, but it wasn't in Missoula.
Okay. And how do you know the person wasn't in Missoula?
Because I asked.
Did they tell you where they were located?
No, they did not. They just said it wasn't Missoula.
And so when you made this phone call, Lance, what service were you looking for?
A roll off. Yep, a 30-yard roll off.
Okay. And did you ask whether Republic could provide that?
I did, yes.
Okay. And what was the response that you got?
She could not tell me, the person I had on the phone.
And did she ask you for an address of the job site?
She did. She asked me for an address and contact information. She said they would reach back out.
And did Republic eventually reach back out?
They did. What she told me is that they would reach out within 24 to 48 hours. And it was at least 48 hours by the time I heard from them.
And how did you hear from them? Was it a phone call or an email, or how did you get that? So
I got a phone call first. I want to say maybe it was a Jerry or something like that. I was in the middle of a job, so I couldn't answer. And so they left me a message, and then we played kind of phone tag then for the next 3 days.
And were you able to eventually get a roll-off container delivered from Republic?
No, because by the time it was done, I just handled it myself with another dump trailer.
You mentioned that you own your own dump trailer. Do you also own containers?
I do not own containers, just dump trailers.
Did Republic give you a price quote for the container?
They did. That finally, after we got on the phone, the second person, she was talking to me, and I said, I need a price quote. And she wouldn't give it to me over the phone. And I said, well, I just need a number so I have some sort of idea what's going. I want to get this going. And she said, we don't do it that way. You have to wait for an email. So I eventually got an email that said what their price was. And I'm not gonna lie, I was so frustrated by the price. I just said, there's absolutely no way. I didn't respond. I didn't call back. And I just proceeded to move my own equipment into the area.
Lance, do you recall what the price you were quoted was?
I should have printed that out. I want to say by the time everything was put together with the fees and the trip and everything else, I thought just short of $2,000 every time there was a trip out of there. And after a couple trips, I might as well just buy another trailer.
Sure. Okay. Do you support Grizzly Disposal's application to enter the market as an additional Class D carrier using roll-off containers in Granite County?
I absolutely do, because like I said, I've got several projects on the line right now. It's a big problem for me to have to constantly make trips to the landfill too. That's what's great about having a roll-off service. I use it on all my other projects, and it's really frustrating because if you can't get something turned around right away, it puts everything behind. So I absolutely do. I think we need to have a second person in the market or something to get this fixed.
Have you had an opportunity to utilize Grizzly or L&L in the Bozeman area or in Missoula County?
Yes, I've used, I guess it's L&L. I used in Gallatin County, and I've used them in Madison County, both on projects. And it's been really good. Actually, I have usually have one or two of their roll-offs currently on a site, and they're super fast. And I just like that I talk to a person on the phone the first time I call. And if I have a question about a number, it's to me in minutes. It's a completely different situation. And the price about a third. And I mean, I do some far out projects, so I know mileage and everything else. And the price has been about a third to 40% of what I was quoted from Republic.
And what's been the turnaround time when you request a dump of one of those containers on a job site from L&L or Grizzly?
I would say usually 24 to 48 hours tops has been what I've dealt with. If it's been extreme winter conditions or something, it could be more, but a lot of times there's a guy the same day that shows up. So
I have no further questions for this witness. Lance, the attorneys for Republic and the commissioners may have some additional questions, so I just ask
Sure.
that you stay on and deal with that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
The witness
Yep.
may not be cross-examined.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, Mr. Cheney.
Good morning.
Hey, my name is Lucas Forcella. I'm one of the attorneys that represents Republic Services. I thank you for coming and joining us
Absolutely.
this morning. So I think I understood you were a current resident of Belgrade, but also have a home here in Phillipsburg. Is that correct?
Correct. I'm in the middle of moving permanently to Granite County, but yes, I have one each place.
Okay. And between the two, I understand did I hear you say a farm out in around Belgrade?
Yes, I do. I have my family has a farm. We've had one for 4 generations in Belgrade.
That's a neat legacy to have. Would it be fair to say that you have to split your time between your contracting duties and your ranch duties?
I'm 90% contracting at this point to 95%. I got out of farming mostly 5 years ago.
Okay. Have you ever lived in Granite County?
I'd say currently I spend probably 70% of my time there.
Okay. I think I heard you say it before, but when was the last time you tried to order a roll-off dumpster in Granite County?
Yeah, I want to say it was probably month and a half ago, something like that, on a remodel that I'm doing.
Got it. Okay. And in the last, say, 5 years, how many times have you ordered a roll-off from Republic in Granite County?
That's the only time. The previous time I tried was right around 5-6 years ago. I tried several occasions on a shop.
Sure, understood. So let's see, six years from now would be what, or 6 years ago for now, 2019 there?
Yeah, it had to have been 2019, 2020 when I built that other place. Yes.
Sure. Thank you. That's helpful. So I wanted to clarify a couple of things I heard you say.
Yes.
When you were talking about your communications with L&L, you said that you like that they talk to you you get a live person on the phone the first
Yep.
time, correct?
Sure. Yes.
And just to be clear, when you called Republic about a month ago, you also spoke to a live person on the phone the first time, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I did. Yep.
Okay. And then the other thing I just wanted to make sure I understood was, I heard you mention some sort of cost comparison between the prices you've been quoted. You said, I think, somewhere between 1/3 to 40% quote for L&L compared to Republic. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and that was for the jobs in Gallatin County or
That was
County or both?
That was those numbers that I gave you, I was comparing out in Madison County, which I have a project way out in Madison County right now.
And just because I know Madison County has an interesting geography. When you say Madison County, you're talking about the part of Madison County up in Big Sky?
It's right at the mouth of that Jack Creek entrance.
Okay. Understood. So is it fair to say your understanding is that's served from the Gallatin County?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
And that comparison, 33% to 40%, is that based against the quote that you received here in Granite County?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. One other thing, when you were talking about that conversation you had with Republic's customer service representative, and then the sort of subsequent back and forth with, I think you said Jerry, is that correct?
Yeah, that was the final person I ended up talking to, I believe, in Missoula.
Okay, and you said that was, the back and forth over about 3 days, and at that point you decided you wanted to take things in your own hands with the dump trailer, correct?
Yeah, I couldn't wait. Ended up just getting started. We thought the project was going to be later, but we had a window in weather and we went for it, and we just couldn't get something done fast enough. So
sure, understood. That back and forth, and it sounds like you and Jerry both called each other several times. Is that accurate?
Well, I tried to reach out to her. She finally called me back once, and I was able to get I think the phone call. I don't remember if it was her calling me or I finally got a hold of her. I'm sorry. It's been a while ago, but it took several tries for us to get communicated one another. That was after I waited the 48-hour period for her to reach out the first time, I guess. And then she left me a voicemail. And then I was in the middle of a project. I tried call later that day. I didn't get through. I tried the next day. I want to say it probably took 2 or 3 days at least before we finally got on the line with one another. And when I got her on the line, she was very nice to deal with.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. And then after you talked to her that day, so what is that, 3 days later, then Republic followed up with an email quote, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Give me one moment, Mr. Cheney, I'm just checking my notes quickly. So maybe two points of follow-up points, Mr. Cheney, and then I think I'm all done.
Okay.
The first one is, and I think I've heard you say it, when that exchange back and forth with Jerry occurred,
yes,
Republic did not deny you service, correct? You chose to go a different route, and I understand you explained why already.
Correct.
Okay, and then the other one is, you talked about your frustrations with your experience about 6 years ago.
Yes.
Would it matter to you if the same people that were in charge of the operation 6 years ago were going to be making decisions that would affect your roll-off service today?
No, I mean, I don't care who it is. I just want to get a phone call through and be able to do business, as long as I'm treated efficiently and effectively, I really don't care who it is.
Sure, so it's the service that you're receiving and not who is providing the service that matters to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Can I clarify one thing for you real quick?
Sure, please.
If I got a second, I don't want to do something that I'm not supposed to or anything like that. I've never done this before, but
Well, please, I would appreciate your clarification, Mr. Chairman.
okay. Well, I don't know when L&L started over in Belgrade where I live, but I was a Republic customer forever over in Belgrade. And I thought it went really well, and everything back then just seemed to be where we couldn't get customer service at our house there. And that's about the time that L&L started. I didn't know any of the people from the company or anything, but I would say I was the very first customer for a pickup service in my area from L&L, because the first time I called, I had somebody. And so I had a similar experience on this, which was very frustrating. And I know that was a long time ago, and I get what you're getting at. It's different people. But when you have the same thing happen to you more than once, you kind of get a little bit frustrated by it. But if I had gotten a fast service over there, I would have had zero problem with it. I promise. I just look for a fast service as somebody that I can count on.
Sure, and I think I understood when you were talking about the service at your house, you're talking about residential garbage pickup?
Yes, and I actually did a remodel way back then, and I had roll-offs as well.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yep.
I think I've got no further questions for the witness.
Okay, I have no questions for the witness.
No questions.
Would you like to?
I'm good.
Okay. All
Thank you,
right.
Mr. Cheney.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
I temporarily excuse the witness.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Garrett, next witness.
At this time, L&L would call Rick Robinson.
Sworn in yesterday?
What's that?
Were you sworn in yesterday?
I'm just gonna say, I am hearing impaired. And so I will ask you to speak loudly but slowly, and I'm sure you would appreciate it.
We have a pact. Very good. Proceed.
Hi, Rick. Good morning.
Good morning.
Where do you live, Rick?
In Drummond,
And that's in Granite County.
Granite County.
What do you do for work?
I'm in Granite Disposal.
And how long have you been when did you start Granite Disposal?
It's just over 30 years ago.
And you own the business?
Yeah, we're a partnership. I originally started the business. My brother came in as a partner, and now my son.
How many people work for Granite Disposal?
Counting me.
Yes.
Right now, there would be 5 of us.
And
Pretty much all family.
what Class D authority does Granite Disposal have?
As far as what can I do?
Yes, what can you haul?
We haul waste, solid waste, garbage, household businesses. My original permit, which is 3904, I purchased from the operator here in Phillipsburg, which gave a 10-mile radius of Phillipsburg. And at that time, I was under the assumption that it would include roll-offs. It does not stipulate in that permit. Added permits as I expanded the operation to Drummond and all of Granite County, we stipulated that we would not do roll-offs or transfer trailers.
And when did you make that stipulation? Do you recall?
It would be in the 90s, mid-90s, when we expanded our operation.
And why would you make a stipulation like that?
That was under that time BFI's protest of my license application, and not to have to go through what we're going through right now. I had talked to Max Bauer, who was head of BFI at the time, and he said if I would relinquish roll-offs, that he would not protest us.
And you guys made that agreement?
Yes.
Do you have any relation, or does Granite Disposal have any relationship with Republic's operations today or currently?
No.
Okay. Does Granite Disposal have any relationship with L&L or Grizzly Disposal?
We do with Grizzly.
Okay, and what is that relationship?
I'm gonna say 2-3 years ago, Grizzly Disposal started in Missoula County. Read things in the paper about them. I like what I read, and I just went in there and I wanted to meet them. And from that, we've had a give and take, and I get advice and I buy equipment and stuff from them.
And where does Granite Disposal take the garbage that it hauls? Where does it dispose?
We go into the transfer stations. We do haul some to Deer Lodge, Carl County.
And what kind of containers are you providing to folks in Granite County?
We do, right now, we have rear load dumpsters. I do as high as an 8-yard capacity. Most of them are 1.5 yard or 2-yard capacity. We're currently converting everything into a side load operation.
So that's so your driver doesn't have to get out of the truck?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's a little bad.
Did you recently discuss with folks at Grizzly Disposal selling Granite Disposal, the option of selling Granite?
I asked Grizzly when I talked to him at one time, I'm 70 years old. My brother is 65. We're old and tired. And at that time, my son was working. He's 48. He was not married. He's never been married. And we're a family operation. So in order for somebody to take over, him to take over the business, he needed a bookkeeper / secretary wife. And that wasn't happening. And so I wanted to explore options to sell the business. And I asked Grizzly if they would be interested, and he said they were. And they looked closer at our operation.
And is that still a potential option in the future, or is that something that's?
It could be, but my son's married to a / secretary bookkeeper.
Congratulations.
Oh, we're so happy.
That's great story.
So, and he's looking more serious now at taking over the business. So I'm not to say if an offer came down the road that I'm getting out of the business. My wife is bookkeeper secretary. She's getting out, but down the road, that'll be up to my son.
I think I can guess, but who answers the phones for Granite Disposal?
Be my wife.
Okay. Do you and your wife have discussions about who's calling for service?
Yeah, she understands the bookkeeping. She does not necessarily understand operational of what we can do and where we can do it.
And sure. And so does your wife have an understanding of the service area and what services Granite can provide? And you all have conversations about the calls that she receives as part of the business?
Probably where you're going. We had a call yesterday for roll-off.
Okay.
This is starting to pick up the construction season. When she gets a call for roll-off, she refers them to Republic Services and says that they're licensed to do this, and we cannot.
And how often does that happen?
Starting with April, we'll probably get 2 or 3 calls a month. Most of my customers know that I don't do roll-off. So the ones that call me are your contractors from out of the area. And what I do when I talk to them, I explain to them that Allied Republic has the roll-offs that need to contact them. Sometimes they're resistant or whatever. I explain, try to find out what type of service you want Sometimes they don't need the roll off, and if I'm in the area, I can handle it with a dumpster and we can pick them up 2-3 times a week. And sometimes they go that route. Other times, I do just what this other contractor was on. I recommend they don't want to do roll off from anybody. I'm not saying Republic or Grizzly or whoever. I recommend the self-dumping trailers and just handle it themselves. And I find that more and more the contractors in Granite County have been going that route.
Self-hauling.
Yeah, self-haul.
You were here yesterday. Did you hear some testimony about, and I'm not sure exactly when, it all jumbles together. Did you hear some testimony about the needs out at the ranch at Rock Creek?
Mm-hmm.
And
I was right in the middle of that.
okay. And so, did you work with Grizzly to try to meet that need?
Originally, the head of maintenance for the ranch, Monaco, I don't know his first name, talked to me. I told him Republic Service would be the outfit that they would need to deal with. He called me back and said.
Objection, hearsay.
So, and then I think if you were here yesterday,
Yeah,
you know,
anyway, okay, so that transpired. He wanted no other options.
Objection, hearsay.
I gave him other options and the condo disposal, for one, and at that time, I never mentioned Grizzly because I know they're not licensed for that area. I thought I could maybe handle him because I do the Rock Creek 3 times a week up there.
Mhm. You provide regular service.
Regular service. Eventually, they called me just totally frustrated. They got a fire, they gotta clean this up, we gotta take care of this mess. And wanted me to do whatever I could do. I told them, I said, Grizzly can't do anything, but call them, maybe they could give you more advice. In which case they called Grizzly and we know what transpired. I don't have a lot of those bigger dumpsters. So Grizzly agreed to supply them with 3 4-yard containers and I would service them 3 times a week. And that's the way we went.
And do you know, so for the cleanup of the fire, you hauled those 4-yard dumpsters that Grizzly provided?
Yes, I dumped them in my trucks.
And-
I then purchased those dumpsters from Grizzly.
Okay. And do you know approximately how many trips you had to make for that fire cleanup?
It was kind of an on-call thing. They would have the 3 dumpsters, they'd fill them. Then somebody would come off when we're up there and say we need them emptied. I try to do it when they ask, but sometimes my trucks are full by then, so I'd have to do it on another day. I suppose we emptied them around 10 times.
Each of the 4
It
dumpsters?
varied. Sometimes they were half full, one would be full. Usually if one was full, they were asking to get it empty, but there'd be some of the others.
I want to talk a little bit about your relationship with the county and the county commission. I think we know from the meeting minutes that you were present at those meetings where Republic's contract ended up getting renewed for the transfer site stations, right? How did you end up there? How did you end up being at those meetings with the county commission?
Well, they were willing to entertain any proposal that I would have. The county system is very complicated. It's also, political.
Sure.
So it's hard to deal with them because people change all the time. So, yeah, they're in the operation where, county waste system's running in the red. They're looking for ways to save money.
And what was Granite Disposal's proposal for handling the disposal at the transfer station?
At that time, we assumed we had some roll-off authority. So we were proposing to do some roll-offs, Phillipsburg. I guess the main part that we would have liked to seen happen, I pick up over 100 tons a week of Granite County garbage, and we dump it in transfer stations. It's wearing the garbage out, I guess you'd say. I would have liked to been able to haul direct to the landfill. And I could have done it reasonably priced, and I could have also almost hauled it to Deer Lodge for the same amount of time it takes us to dump them in a transfer station.
And you're hauling to Deer Lodge. What are you paying for disposal at Deer Lodge?
$50.
A ton? Okay. And so you made this proposal to the county and I mean, obviously, what was the outcome of that?
A lot to do with the clarification of my license, since we could not get clarification. It just muddy water, and so they opted to stay with Republic.
So I wanna try to clear this up, because I think that you said earlier that when it was BFI, and that's Republic's predecessor, is that right?
Mhm.
And Max Bauer was in control, that you all stipulated that you wouldn't haul roll-offs
Mhm.
and then he wouldn't protest your authority. Where did the confusion come in more recently about your ability to provide?
Well, it came from the original license, the 3904, that I purchased from whoever was Joe's Disposal, I think it was. And that license had no limitations or stipulations in that license. Then all the subsequent license that I added that proposal as Max request.
Did you ever provide roll-off service in Granite County?
Well, partly no, because I agreed not to.
Right.
We've explored it in years past. Granite County is not a big county. It was cost prohibitive, I felt, to get a truck and the necessary containers to do that. Since then, the county's grown a lot. My business has doubled in size in the last 3 years, and volume that we haul is considerable. And same thing, the demand is up for construction.
So we've had some conversations, and you mentioned the growth. We've had some conversations about the population. You mentioned growth in your business, and you've been in Granite County. How long have you lived here?
70 years.
Okay, that's what I thought. Have you recently noticed growth in the Granite County community other than population growth?
Phillipsburg in particular is a massive uptick in businesses. I mean, you look down this alley here and you see we're doing the side loader tubs in there. When I took over the business, I had 2 customers in this alley. Now there's probably 10. And if there's any vacant buildings, this is the time of year I'll start getting calls for service. But I don't think there's an empty building right now in Phillipsburg that's not already being serviced by me. I probably do about 90% of all businesses in Granite County.
Do you have conversations with contractors working in the county about, and I don't want to know what was said, but have you had conversations with contractors working in Granite County about Republic Services roll-off?
You want hearsay?
Yeah, go ahead, talk about it.
Yeah, because I mean, both of my You know, basically, when I get calls for roll-off, it's either gonna be an
I'm
existing
gonna object to
customer.
this answer before we go much further. The witnesses just acknowledged that this was based on hearsay, and the question was asking about conversations with other third parties that are not present.
So it's a yes or no question.
Yes,
Have you had an opportunity to discuss Republic's reputation as a roll-off service provider in Granite County with those contracts?
yes.
And based on those conversations, what is your understanding and belief about what Republic's reputation in the community is as a roll-off service provider?
I'm going to object again. Rule 404 is very clear that character evidence is generally impermissible to introduce in this sort of a proceeding. It's got a few specific exceptions that apply mostly in criminal matters. The only instance that would seem to apply in a civil matter would be the character of a witness. I don't believe, unless I'm misunderstanding, that Ms. Garrett is asking Mr. Richardson about his character. I think she's asking about somebody else's character. Moreover, even in that limited circumstance, it's only to the witness's character for truthfulness or untruthfulness.
This is about not a person, but an entity, and their reputation and character among associates or in the community is a hearsay exception. 404B relates to character evidence of a person, an individual, and reputation as to Republic's reputation in the community is relevant to these proceedings, particularly as a roll-off service provider in Granite County. And 404B is a relevancy consideration. This particular evidence, in terms of Republic's reputation in the community, is relevant, and the probative value is not outweighed by any potential prejudice that the Republic might suffer.
Brief response.
Yeah, either a corporation is a person or it's not. If it is not a person, as Ms. Garrett has indicated, then the exception that she's indicating would also not apply, because that exception is about the reputation of a person. So by that logic, the exception does not apply. If you take the contrary position, as the commission may, that a corporation is indeed a person, then I rest back on the statement I made before about the limited uses of that testimony and who may bring it.
May I briefly respond?
Yes.
Sure, they're a person. 404C, if the character is an issue, evidence of a person's character or a trait of character is admissible in cases in which character or a trait of character of a person is an essential element of a charge, claim, or defense. Republic's reputation in the community as a roll-off service provider is an essential element of what L&L is attempting to demonstrate, that there is need for an additional carrier. It is essential that the commission understand what Republic's reputation in the community is as a roll-off service provider, and essentially that's what each of these shipper witnesses is demonstrating. Mr. Forcella's objection goes to the weight of the evidence here, not the admissibility.
Final word on your objection?
Final word, I promise. My objection is not to the weight of the evidence. My objection is to the admissibility of the evidence. This is a attempt to bootstrap the testimony of people who are not present through what appears to be one, currently maybe a short number of witnesses, rather than call those witnesses here and have them be cross-examined, which would be the appropriate course of action. I understand why Ms. Garrett wants to introduce this information, and I appreciate that, but the appropriate course of action would be to call those witnesses who have some sort of an opinion and let them testify and be cross-examined.
Thank you, counsel. One moment.
Objection overruled. Proceed.
Do you want to know what the question is?
I'm taking a nap here.
Fair enough.
Okay, what's my general perception?
Of Republic's reputation in the community as a roll-off service provider.
Most, when I deal with contractors and maybe some of my own locals, it's frustrated. It's just what this earlier witness said, and that describes it very well.
Contractors are frustrated.
Yeah, they're frustrated. You know, whether I can't say the service price or whatever, they don't always, they just basically plead with me to do something for
Objection,
them.
hearsay, that's not general reputation.
Your opinion, I'll withdraw it,
No,
or we'll strike that portion, but your general opinion is that, is there a need for an additional carrier to provide roll-off services?
I think, I guess I'm a capitalist. I believe in competition.
And in your opinion, have you seen, other than just the general desire for competition, have you seen that there are instances that demonstrate that the public needs an additional carrier option in Granite County?
I think, being a garbage carrier myself, I understand the industry pretty well, even with roll-offs. There are times that it's hard for us to meet the service demand for whatever reasons, and I think options are good.
Sorry. I have no further questions for this witness at this time.
The witness may now be cross-examined.
Thank you, Commissioner. Morning, Mr. Robinson. Would you prefer I call you Mr. Robinson or Rick?
I go by Rick
Rick,
or Mr., I don't care.
sounds good. So let's see, can you repeat this one more time? What business does Granite Disposal engage in?
Waste hauling, we pick up residential and business accounts, commercial accounts.
Commercial and business
With
accounts?
roll-offs, or not roll-offs, but with dumpsters and side load carts.
Yeah, we got it, perfect. And so not with roll-offs, right?
No.
Okay. And I think I understood before, but I just want to make sure I've got it. You talked about Granite Disposal being a partnership with somebody, and then now a partnership with your son, is that correct?
It was partnership. I was sole proprietor. I
Okay.
started the business.
Yep.
Then I bought the license, who it was Joe's Disposal from Phillipsburg. And I live in Drummond, so we were actually doing garbage in Drummond. So we expanded our license to be a 10-mile radius of Drummond. We had 10-mile radius of Phillipsburg and a 10-mile radius of Discovery Ski Base.
Got it.
So we basically had 3 licenses. I think somewhere in the 90s, there was a major subdivision going in at Beavertail, which was kind of out of my area. So I then redid my license to encompass all of Granite County.
Okay. And at some point in this process, went into partnership with your son?
Yeah, with my brother first and then my son.
Thank you, brother first, that was the one I had forgotten. So we talked a little bit about how you learned about the restriction on already. I don't know that we need to go back through that. I understand it was a period of time between the point at which you asked about the clarification on your permit and the point at which you got the clarification on your permit. Is that accurate?
Yeah, about 6 months.
July through, say, late December?
I think I finally got final word from the Public Service Commission probably in about January.
Does December 23rd sound correct?
It's in me, it was later than that.
would it help if you refreshed your memory from an email that you received from L&L? Yeah, okay. Let's,
I will take your word for it, 23rd. I don't know if it makes much difference when I got the word.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, whatever, it's fine.
And so that was because the contact between you and L&L or Grizzly was because they were interested in pursuing the purchase of your business, is that right? And it doesn't surprise you that the day after they realized that you didn't have the roll-off certificate or the ability to haul roll-offs, that they filed their application to get that permission after that. Okay. So you were working with Grizzly during that period to provide some service to the ranch at Rock Creek, is that correct?
Grizzly just supplied the 3 4-yard dumpsters, which I serviced.
Okay. And so did they rented those to you, or how did that work?
They loaned them,
Loaned them to you?
and then I liked them, so I ended up buying them.
Okay. So there wasn't any sort of exchange, you didn't have to pay them for the service?
No.
Okay.
nothing.
To your knowledge, it sounds like you have a connection with some of the contractors here in the community. To your knowledge, has Republic ever refused to provide roll-off services in Granite County?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. When was that?
On this fall, once again, this is hearsay because I'm only going by what they told me. And they said they tried to get a roll-off, which is just out of town. They says they could not get it from the public.
Okay, so you don't know that that's true, you're relying on somebody
That's what I'm
else's.
saying, because I can't verify, I just, what people tell me, I'm gonna take it for face value. I'm not in your position.
Sure, I understand.
And asking for verification to,
Yeah, so let me try that question again then.
Okay.
So to your knowledge, not what people have told you, to your knowledge, what you know to be true, has Republic ever denied service for roll-offs in Granite County?
other than the Rancho Rock Creek, probably not.
Okay,
Like I said, other than hearsay, correct.
got it. Thank you. As I understand it, Granite Disposal itself, your company, does not order roll-off services, correct?
No,
You're not in the business of being a garbage shipper, you're a garbage hauler.
I just refer them to Republic.
Got it. So just to put a pin in it, you're not a potential customer regardless of who's providing roll-off services.
It has been tossed around by Republic and Grizzly both in the past years. I guess you'd call it a finder's fee if I arrange for that they were willing to compensate me for the time. This is not something I pursued.
Sure.
This to me is just part of trying to be serve my customers and get them connected. I wasn't interested in making a buck off.
Right. You don't want to be necessarily a sales consultant for somebody else.
No.
Got it. But again, Granite Disposal is not in the business of being a customer. It is a garbage hauler. Is that right? Right. Okay. I wanted to go through just a couple of things that you said. If you give me just 1 second to look at my notes. So Grizzly supplied you, was it 4 4-yard containers for the ranch at
It
Rock
was
Creek?
3 4-yard.
3 4-yard, thank you, sorry, my poor handwriting. And I think I heard you say that, over the course of the time you were working there, serving the ranch at Rock Creek with those dumpsters, you had to empty them approximately 10 times.
I guess, I don't have those figures.
Sure. It's a rough approximation. would be
I would
10.
say so.
And I think I heard you say some of them, the time that they were full, some of the time they were half full. So not necessarily a perfect picture, but an approximate figure for the amount of waste that was hauled. Okay. Do you recall when did that job start for you? Like, when did Granite Disposal begin providing service to the ranch at Rock Creek?
I'm gonna say the middle of July.
Middle of July, okay. And then when did that job end for the ranch at Rock Creek? And I understand you provide regular service as well.
And that's, yeah, part of, basic demolition that they did was probably done at the end of September. There was a lapse where they were remodeled. I actually did the last load last week.
Last load, last
But I
week.
haven't done any in January or February. Last week, they told me the dumpster needed to be emptied and that they were done with the remodel at that time.
Okay. So the remodel, just so I understand, is that the same thing as the fire that they had discussed?
Yeah,
Okay,
the rebuild, I guess you call it.
sure, yeah. Okay. You mentioned that you would prefer to haul waste directly to the landfill instead of going to the transfer stations? And you understand that the process for doing that would be to seek the PSC's approval of that, correct?
That would not be a problem. I do have license to go to any state license
Okay,
landfill. I could,
so,
but the process would involve the county reimbursement because this is the taxpayer pays the county,
Mhm.
so the county pays for disposal. So in which case the county would have to reimburse me,
understood.
which is what we were trying to go for.
Yes, I think I saw that in the minutes. So just to be clear, that's the choice to go to a landfill or not, is largely a business decision based on that reimbursement need. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I heard you say before, Granite Disposal provides service to 90% of all the businesses in Granite County?
I would say so.
Okay. And how long do you think that that's been roughly, approximately accurate?
Well, I would say good 10, 15 years.
Okay.
I mean, we're growing a lot because a lot of businesses come in, but ranches have been somewhat resistant over the years just because they have their own private little spots. But as they have been sold, we've gotten a lot, very heavily into ranch jobs.
Okay, so ranching as well, you've been taking care of the ranching industry as well as the business industry. Well, I think congratulations are probably in order. And then you spoke about, I think you were here for the testimony yesterday, but I understand you believe in competition. I think it's a common refrain when we have these hearings. You understand that our desires, our personal desires for the way the system might work, don't necessarily change the way the rules are.
Right.
And you've lived that for now, what
Oh,
is it, 20 plus years? Yeah. So the PSC has a job to do to regulate the garbage hauling industry. And that in many ways has benefited you as a garbage hauler in this territory.
It's the same thing. My license protects me.
Okay.
As well.
And protects the public to make sure that the service that they're getting is good, correct? Okay. Last piece, I think I heard you say that you understand the industry, including roll-offs.
You know, I've been in it for 30 years, so yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but you don't provide the roll-offs. Okay. I don't have any further questions for the witness.
I have no questions for the witness.
No questions.
Would you like to redirect?
I have nothing further.
Okay.
I'm
The witness may
comfortable
be.
up here.
All right, maybe temporarily excused, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next witness?
We call Vicky Witt.
You sworn in yesterday?
Ms. Witt was not sworn. in
She was not
yesterday.
sworn.
She was not here.
Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Can you spell your last name W-I-T-T? Yes. Okay, perfect.
How do you spell your first name?
V-I-C-K. Thank you.
I forget that there's variations on that one. Where do you live, Vicky? And where do you work?
Grizzly Disposal.
And what do you do there at Grizzly?
I do customer service. Here,
Okay.
a little louder.
Oh,
Customer service.
Thank you. I got it. How long have you been at Grizzly Disposal?
About a year and a half.
Where did you work before Grizzly?
Republic Services.
And what did you do for Republic?
Various things. I started out in customer service. Then I took care of the landfill. I did their recycling. I talked to commercial customers. I handled their contracts.
How long did you work for Republic?
52 years.
You held various positions while you were there. Was there one that you focused on more than others, or did you just kind of move around?
I always did commercial customer service. And then as the company grew, I liked learning the new things, so I took on the landfill, the recycling.
Okay, and do you recall the date that you left employment with Republic specifically, or
Would have been September 23rd of 23.
September 23rd? So,
Oh, yeah.
When you worked, when you say you worked at the landfill, what were your duties when you worked at the Republic landfill in Missoula?
I didn't work at the landfill, I did their bookkeeping.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. So you tracked what came in and who was paying what?
right,
Were you responsible for invoicing customers?
yes.
And you say commercial customer service, what kind of waste hauling services are we talking about? Just regular commercial service or roll-off service as well?
I did both.
What position were you in at Republic before you left?
I was in their billing department.
And what were you doing there?
I was doing still customer service. I took care of their contracts. That had kind of, I take that back. That had kind of gone to the sales department about a year before I left, but I was still implementing all the paperwork. And so, and I did all the bookkeeping for the recycling, the landfill, and I think just kind of a scope of things.
Were you supervising or managing anyone?
No.
Were you taking incoming calls from customers at that point in time?
Yes.
And did Republic receive requests for roll-off service in Granite County during your time in that position?
Yes.
Okay, and what kind of businesses were seeking roll-off services from Republic at that point?
Mostly the bulk of it was construction, people getting new homes or, cleaning out homes. Like the ranch at Rock Creek where they had a fire, so they needed to clean it up. So that was mostly what it was used for.
And so we heard some testimony earlier today about Mr. Cheney's experience with trying to get roll-off service from Republic and calling that Missoula number. What do you remember about how a request for service, roll-off service, would be dealt with when you were in that final position at Republic?
Well, by the time my final position came, I would get like a phone call on my direct line, because I didn't do like their public line. I had a direct line. And that it had to be sent to the roll-off. They had started a sales position for roll-offs.
So you forwarded that on to the salesperson. Who was in that position?
Her name was Jennifer, but I don't know what her last name was.
Do you know whether or not she's still there?
She was not.
You mentioned the public line. Can you explain that to me?
Well, there's the regular line that comes into Republic, that isn't, at the time I left, was being forwarded to the call center. They had eliminated their, customer services,
And that's the 406-543.
3157.
I knew I could get us halfway there. The call center, do you know, was it a specific call center? Or were there multiple call centers, or maybe you don't know?
That I'm not sure about. I know that, like, they had customer service people that then, at the time that the pandemic hit, they sent them home, and then eventually it was eliminated. And it went to the call center that I believe is located in Las Vegas.
Vicki, why did you leave Republic?
Objection, relevance.
I mean, I think this is relevant, and I think the commission should allow Ms. Witt to testify about it. Her employee experiences are something that is in the public interest. And we've had testimony from a variety of Grizzly employees. A lot of them came from Republic Services. And there were issues with the management structure, the turnover, and the way that things were being handled. And so I do think that that's all relevant to these proceedings.
Thank you.
If I may follow up.
Briefly, yes.
And the issues in this case aren't directed at Republic. Again, the burden is on the applicant L&L to prove its fitness, to show that there is a public need, and to show that the addition of an additional hauler will not be contrary to public interest in this case, as well as some consideration of competition. And so reasons for a former employee leaving don't get into those issues, and so are not relevant.
Well, a public need can include a need for better customer service. Ms. Witt was in customer service, and I think the reason that she left is relevant to the customer service that's currently being provided by Republic.
Thank you, counsel. One moment.
Objection overruled. Proceed.
So Vicki, the question was, why did you leave Republic?
I didn't like the culture that was being put forth. I'd worked there under my boss for 40 years. And from the point that he left the company, it was a revolving door of the GMs. They became departmentalized. They wanted their sales department to handle their, incoming, like for the roll-offs and their other commercial businesses. They weren't getting back to them. My phone, I would get phone calls all the time because everybody in Missoula knew what my direct line was. So, and it was frustrating because I couldn't help them. And I started my job where you took the call and you finished the problem. When they became departmentalized, they just passed it off, and wherever it landed, it just seemed to go somewhere else. And was it resolved? So I'd get the phone call back, and it became very frustrating, and I just decided it was time to be gone.
And you mentioned, you worked under the same boss for 40 years. Who was that boss?
Max Bauer.
Okay. As working customer service at Grizzly, what is your typical day like?
Oh, it's fun. You answer the phone, the people are happy to talk to you. They're always telling us how great our service is. And that was the part of my job that I really liked, was the customer service and getting to help people. The rest of it was great. I loved doing the landfill and, the recycling and being in the billing department, but I did miss the customer service part of it.
How many customer service representatives are in that Missoula office?
4.
And do you all receive calls requesting roll-off service in Missoula County?
Yes.
How do you handle those?
We each take it and we set up the services, and it's a done deal.
What kind of information are you requesting from the customer?
Their address, their phone numbers, emails. When we set up the account, they have to prepay for the service, so they have to give us some credit card information, where they want it, what size box they want it.
So when a customer calls into Grizzly in Missoula, they're getting a price quote for roll-off service over the phone.
Yes.
During that first phone call.
Yes.
And if they want to proceed with that, receiving that service from Grizzly, they pay up front.
Correct.
Okay. What kind of containers does Grizzly make available in Missoula?
For the roll-offs or in
Yes.
general?
It's just the roll-off.
Just a roll-off. We have 20, 30, and 40 yards.
As a customer service representative at Grizzly, do you sometimes receive customer complaints?
Yeah, rarely, but yes.
Okay. What kinds of complaints are you receiving?
Well, the biggest complaints would probably be, like if there was a missed stop.
A missed pickup.
A missed pickup.
And and that's normal.
And I don't really consider that a complaint. I think they call, definitely get more compliments about our service than, most of them are just the calls for doing business.
And so if you do get a call about a missed pickup, how do you deal with that, or how do you handle it?
We schedule it and they're picked up the next day.
So Grizzly will do its best to provide or a replacement service the next day.
Correct.
Or within 24 hours.
If not that day.
Okay.
Depending on where it's at.
Have you ever, while working at Grizzly, and that's been 2 years, you said?
Well, just about in September.
Okay, almost 2 years.
Yep.
Have you ever received calls, a customer complaint about the roll-off service in Missoula County?
No.
Okay. Have you received calls from shippers in Granite County seeking roll-off service at Grizzly?
If I had, I don't remember for that other than the ranch at Rock Creek. Because we would tell them that we weren't, able to service that area.
Has Grizzly ever received calls from, the US Forest Service or USDA,
Yes.
for fire season?
Mhm.
And, do you know anything about, the calls down in Granite County? for fire service?
I didn't set those up. I've done fire forever for public fires, but I didn't personally take any of the calls for it down there.
Okay. And if you did take a call for roll-off service down in Granite County, what would you tell that customer seeking roll-off service in Granite County from Grizzly?
Because it's
Objection,
federal.
hearsay.
It's not hearsay, it's a hypothetical situation.
And she's asking, what would you say in a hypothetical situation, out of court statement?
Could you repeat your question again, please?
If you received a call for roll-off service at Grizzly Disposal, seeking roll-off service in Granite County, what would you tell that customer?
And we're still rolling on the objection. I just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify what the question was.
Yeah.
Thank you, counsel. One moment.
Objection overruled. Proceed.
Do you want me to ask you?
I would tell them that I could help them because it's a federal request.
Okay, so, and we're talking about, I think you're answering the question if the Forest Service calls.
Exactly.
Okay, so if somebody, just a general contractor down in Granite County calls for service from
Oh.
Grizzly, tell me what you would say to that person.
I would have to direct them to Republic.
Perfect. When you were at Republic when Grizzly's permit got approved for
I
this.
was.
And so did you take any calls, after Grizzly's initial permit in Missoula County got approved from, and I don't wanna know what was said, take any calls from Missoula County customers of Republic wanting to cancel their service with Republic to move to Grizzly?
Yes.
Was there a policy in place about how you were dealing with those service cancellations when you were at Republic?
Yeah, they had to be referred to the sales department.
And do you know what the sales department, would they attempt to retain those customers at Republic?
Yes.
And do you know how they would do that?
They would, most of them, if they had a contract, they would tell them that they had, that they had a contract that they would have to pay, liquidated damages.
And what about if they didn't have a contract?
Then the sales department would generally lower their price and whether or not they retained them or not. Some they probably did.
Have you had an opportunity in your 2 years at Grizzly to take calls from customers wanting to switch from Republic to Grizzly?
Yes, constantly.
And, I know, I'm just thinking.
Is that son making
I-
up for you to see your screen?
I have no further questions for this witness at this time.
Thank you. Cross-examination?
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. Good morning, Ms. Witt. My name is Aaron Nicholson. I'm one of the attorneys who represents Republic. Ms. Witt, you testified that you had worked for Republic as predecessor for 52 years, correct?
Correct.
You would agree 52 years is a significant amount of time to be working for the same employer? And I'm assuming during your 52 years of experiences, you had a wide range of experiences at Republic.
I did.
During those 52 years, you likely faced some challenges while working on the job.
I guess. I don't know what you'd consider a challenge.
During your 52 years, though, you probably had some positives and negatives through the course of your employment.
Correct.
And generally, would you say that the positives outweighed the negatives, given that you had worked there for 52 years?
They did until Max left.
And Mr. Max Bauer left in 2016, correct?
I'm not sure the date. But I knew it'd been about 10 years.
And you continued to stay on after Mr. Bauer left Republic, correct?
Correct.
How long did you stay on with Republic after Max left?
Well, I left in 2013. So from 16 to 2023.
Another approximate 6 to 7 years or so. And over the course of your 52-year career, you, I'm assuming, tried to do the best you could do in providing excellent customer service to Republic's customers.
Right.
And so you left your employment with Republic about 2 years ago, correct?
Correct.
So you don't have any current knowledge about Republic's operations in Granite County, correct?
Correct.
And so the information that you have about Republic is about 2 years old, correct?
Correct.
In your experience in working with both L&L, the last approximate 2 years, and with Republic, do you agree that it's common to have occasional service disruptions in the roll-off industry?
No, that did not occur while I was working
For either company?
for either company.
In your experience, are there occasional disruptions that happen due to weather events?
Not currently, and I never experienced that when I worked for Republic.
You didn't have any issues with weather? And my understanding from your testimony on direct is that sometimes there are occasional issues that pop up where there could be missed pickups. Is that accurate?
Correct.
And was that common in your work with both Republic and L&L?
Yes, Republic missed a lot of customers and L&L occasionally has.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Oh, sorry.
So I just want to be clear about your testimony. I believe you had previously said there were not a lot of disruptions, and now you're saying that there were more disruptions.
Objection mischaracterizes testimony.
I guess how would you characterize the disruptions? Were they infrequent for both companies, or were they common?
Republic became more and more common. You had times when the routes were completely down. Then they would have to send out their routes, you know, when the other guys got done working, they'd have to send them out to do the route. And a lot of times there was a lot of stuff that was missed.
And considering your general overall experience with Republic, when there were issues that happened and disruptions to service, Republic worked to restore those services quickly, correct?
I wouldn't say that, no.
In your experience as a customer service representative, Republic was proactive in communicating with customers about delays that would happen, correct?
No.
In your 52-year experience, that wasn't common?
Of getting hold of customers when they were gonna have a route down, or what are you asking?
Yeah, when there would be service disruptions during your 52 years of experience at Republic, was it common for Republic to reach out to those customers if there was an issue that popped up with that service?
That's my knowledge. That wasn't part of my job.
So you wouldn't know about that then?
Not to
Objection
where-
mischaracterizes testimony.
You said it wasn't part of your job?
Not to redirect the routes.
And yeah, and that's not what I'm asking. Your job was as a customer service representative, correct?
Correct, in the beginning of my career, yes,
And you also had communications with customers, correct?
correct.
And so during your time at Republic, if there were instances with disruptions, did you ever talk to customers about those disruptions?
Yes,
And in your work with Republic, you tried to be timely and responsive to those customer calls, correct?
correct,
And you tried to help resolve those issues that popped up, correct?
yes.
In your experience with both Republic and with L&L, there can be miscommunications with customers, correct?
I suppose, what kind of communication?
Any sort of communication with the customer, there can be any sort of type of miscommunication. Is that pretty common?
Normally, you don't have a lot of communication with your customers because you pick them up and they're happy that you picked them up. The miscommunication would have been if there was gonna be a route down, that would have gone to the, the route supervisors. I did, if there was a mispickup, get a hold of the ops people to get that corrected.
And so you worked in a timely manner to get that corrected if that issue popped up?
I did.
Are your responsibilities with L&L similar to your responsibilities with Republic? And I understand you had a wide-ranging career, but approximately at the time you left Republic, were your job responsibilities the same when you moved over to L&L?
No.
How are they different?
Well, the sales department had taken over all the commercial, so I didn't have much communication with, except for the people that would call me on my direct line. When I moved to Grizzly, I contacted people. I don't know why that keeps doing it. When I moved to Grizzly, I, was able to talk to the customers that called. As people found out that I was working there, they called more.
And so my interpretation, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that part of the job that you enjoyed the most was speaking with customers. Is that accurate?
Not the most, but I do enjoy that, yes.
It depends on what the customer is calling about, potentially.
Yeah,
You know,
most
like,
of the people that have my direct line, they were customers that I built relationships with.
and it sounds like during your time with Republic, especially after Mr. Bauer left, approximately 2016, that there was a transition in how those calls were handled. Is that accurate?
Correct.
And so previously, you used to receive those calls directly. Is that correct?
I did.
And so you would handle those calls if a customer was having a complaint or an issue that popped up.
For if it was commercial and it went to my direct line, the rest of it went to the call center.
And then approximately when did that transition take place from when you were receiving calls to those calls no longer going to you?
When they had the customer service and I moved into billing, then I was still in charge of the contracts and the people that would call me directly. Then they implemented the sales department, and that's when all that changed.
And my understanding from your direct exam testimony, correct me if I'm wrong, is that but you don't know exactly how the call centers work at Republic?
Yeah, you call them and you go through a tree, tell them what you want, and then you get a customer service rep that especially if it's commercial or roll off, they have to send the call to the salespeople.
And during your time towards the end of your employment with Republic, you had mentioned that there was a individual who was hired specifically just for roll-offs. Is that correct?
Jennifer was, yeah. And then they had a construction desk that also took calls.
And based on your knowledge, what was the purpose of that individual's job then with respect to roll-offs?
She was supposed to my knowledge, she was supposed to take the call, set up the services, and take care of the customer.
Following that transition from the point in time where you previously received calls to the calls being transitioned to a call center, were you disappointed by that?
I think my disappointment came from the fact that they weren't handling the customers. They would call for services, they couldn't get a hold of anybody, they were told it was 24 to 48 hours to get a call back. It was constantly, this person hasn't called me, you know, what can I do? So I would reach out or give them their phone number so that they could call them.
Ms. Witt, you had spent 52 years with Republic. During your time, I'm assuming you have an understanding, grew to have an understanding of the size of the company. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Generally speaking, how would you describe the size of Republic? Is it a big company, small company? How would you describe it?
It's huge.
And based on your experience, does Republic have significant roll-off resources in Montana?
I would say that I probably can't answer that correctly.
Why is that?
I don't have knowledge of what goes on in Montana. Missoula, on the other hand, had times where they did not have roll-off boxes or didn't have a size. And at that time, their services was based on the size of the container that you got.
But during your time at Republic in Missoula, they did have roll-off services, correct?
Yes,
And they also serviced Granite County, correct?
correct.
And based on your knowledge and information, Republic has, at the time, had the resources available to provide those services in Granite County, correct?
If they chose to.
But they had the resources to do that, correct?
They could.
During your time with Republic, did you ever directly handle sales calls or roll-offs in Granite County?
Yeah, that was my job.
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Until they got the sales department, that was my job.
And during that time, let's say on a standard monthly basis, how many calls would you receive for roll-off boxes in Granite County?
On an average, you put it over 12 months, it was, you know, summer and would be more, but I don't know if you'd take one a month.
So approximately one roll-off customer per month then in Granite County when you worked at Republic?
Correct.
And maybe less?
Well, they didn't get a call a month, they didn't do that, they didn't get a call a month for a roll-off.
Would there be some months where you would receive no calls for roll-offs in Granite County?
Correct.
And so compared to Republic's operations in Missoula, it's fair to say that Granite County had much less of a need than customers for roll-off boxes in Missoula County, correct?
Definitely.
Ms. Witt, you also talked about getting calls for roll-off boxes in Granite County since you've moved over to L&L, correct?
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that to date, you have only received one call for roll-off boxes in Granite County while working at L&L?
That I could not say for sure. And the only one that sticks out to me, because it's a phone call that you just can't, you tell them you can't help them. So I'm not gonna say, you know, that I've taken a lot, but the one that sticks out is the ranch.
But other than the ranch, you can't recall any other instances where you received a call from a prospective customer asking for roll-offs in Granite County, correct?
Correct.
I want to ask a little bit about those communications with the ranch, okay?
Okay,
Do you recall who you spoke with?
Brandon.
Brandon Monteleone? Okay. And you spoke with him by telephone first or email? Do you recall?
I'm gonna say it was probably by telephone.
And you referred him to services that could be provided by Republic, is that accurate?
No, he called me wanting to know if we could service, because he'd already been turned down by Republic.
What was your response to that?
My response is that, Republic had made exceptions before for people to haul them, because if there was anything at Georgetown Lake, they did not want to haul it. So they enabled us to call the customer to call Anaconda to haul it.
And I was asking about Mr. Monteleone. Did you direct him to Republic?
No, we'd already contacted Republic.
And you were aware at this time that Republic was able to provide roll-off services in Granite County, correct?
Yes, I was.
And did you tell him this?
Yes, I did.
Did you still have any contacts at Republic at this time?
No.
Ms. Witt, if I could have you take a look at some documents, part of which has already been, I believe, entered into evidence. If I could have you please turn to exhibit number 5, please, in the binder in front of you. There's 2 binders that should say L&L.
Council, just to note, we're gonna have to take a break here soon. It's about 10:54 a.m. And we have a meeting for the commissioners at 11.
This might be a good time to
Yes.
break it off, take that break.
Okay.
11:25, we'll reconvene.
Okay.
So the time is now 10:54. So we will